We live? Yeah, we live. All right. Goodness. Go live on Instagram too. Woo! Okay. So listen up, y'all. I think the last time this happened was in 2013, where the US presidential inaugural day and Dr. Martin Luther King Day happened on the same day. Some might be feeling a certain way about it. Others, you're apolitical. It doesn't even matter. It's a day. Doesn't even phase you. But here's the thing: whether or not you feel a certain way, we're all humans. And I'm talking, from C-suite all the way down to direct report, all the way down to custodial engineers. By the way, I used to be a custodial engineer. And the reason why I go by custodial engineer is because we were really engineered, like we were cooking some stuff up. The way that we were able, first of all, I didn't realize that custodians had full-on conventions. Full-on conventions, y'all. Trade shows of all kinds of tools you probably wouldn't have even considered when it comes to cleaning office buildings. And for me, it was in college, so cleaning campuses. But man, let me tell y'all, one time I had a job where I had to actually clean the baseboards in the science building. Things that you don't even realize exist until it's time to pay attention to it, and then in my case, clean it, and you realize this is a whole, like, who first of all had to take their time to put this down, to lay it down properly. And now I'm coming back, and that thing probably hadn't been touched in a while. I think what they were probably doing is just kind of giving me some work to do over the summer. That's probably what it was. But the point is, man, humbling work. Custodial engineering, I would suggest, is the term that y'all start using. Now, maybe I'm using it incorrectly, but we came up with some unique ways to do cleans. The hardest part was cleaning when it was snowing, and you have the building looking immaculate, and everybody starts coming in from outside, and it's almost as if you did nothing. Oh, humbling work, y'all. Okay, why am I bringing this up? Well, what if it's from the C-suite all the way down to people who are just cleaning, mopping floors? We're all humans, and at some point, you will feel unpleasant feelings. You will have negative energy. As a matter of fact, there's an app. I use this app. I haven't used it as frequently as of late, but it's called, and I might have mentioned this before, it's called How We Feel. I think it's a free project. Might be a Harvard project, I think. And How We Feel. So long I haven't used it that, so you have to check in, right? And when you check in, don't mind my cracked screen protector here. When you check in, y'all see that? You probably can't see it. Let's see. I don't know if you guys see it. Okay, that yellow is high energy, pleasant. Green is low energy, pleasant. Red is high energy, unpleasant, and blue is low energy, unpleasant. Almost kind of think of it as the Inside Out. If you've ever seen any of those movies, kind of very similar vibe. And when you click on one of them, bap, it shows you an array of pleasant, unpleasant, high, low energy feelings that you have, like surprised, awe, determined, eager, jittery, angry, scared. I'm going into the blue now. Spent, excluded, glum. All right. So anyway, and then it's gotten better now where they have definitions at the bottom. This is great. It's called How We Feel. Start checking in, feeling, into your feelings, which is really almost the first step I was going to say. But we're human beings. We're humans. You aren't going to feel charged up and ready to go all the time. And if you do, at some point, something happens. Just life just happens. I've never met anybody who was always at the top and was always feeling their best. Now, you can do your best to put on a face, especially in a professional setting, so that, people don't come in and say, "Oh my goodness, what's wrong?" But even if you try to put on your best face, the energy, the aura that you give off, especially if you're typically the bright, bubbly, the person that kind of lights up a room, When it gets a little dim, people can feel that. All right. I say embrace it. Embrace it. So here's the thing. Remember, I said I had this hunch. I don't care if you're in a C-level position. You're human. And yes, you might have to save face because of what you might have to do on a day to day, especially if you have a lot of stakeholder meetings or boardroom sessions, whatever it is. You're human. How do you handle it as a human being? The same way that the custodial engineer does. Let's talk about that. What does that look like? Well, the first thing that you should do is what I kind of just showed right there with using the app is you want to be able to acknowledge it. Acknowledge how you feel, and then you want to label. You want to label it. It should feel or it should you should turn into, and this is interesting because I think the actual app talks about this from someone who is an emotional judge to an emotional scientist. You stop thinking, oh, this is a bad feeling. Why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't be feeling this way versus, this is how I'm feeling. I can articulate what it is. And now I can get to the root of how I can change how I feel. There's a difference between, oh my gosh, why am I feeling this way to, oh my gosh, why am I feeling this way? Different, same phrase, but the approach and the mindset is going to be different. So recognizing and naming the emotion is the first step. And it's the first step in preventing it from escalating or just kind of negatively influencing your leadership. Because remember, at the end of the day, you still got to lead people. Right? So when you label what you're experiencing, it's anger, frustration, anxiety, those low, and let me tell you, this right here, this gives you so much to choose from. So I feel trapped, insecure, lost, disconnected, embarrassed, apprehensive, frightened, furious, contempt, troubled, worried, nervous. If you don't know the words, the language to use, find an actual tool, resource. In this case, I'm giving you one right now, the How We Feel app that allows you to articulate what that is. Because then it becomes easier to address and to manage, because then you can figure out how do I, the way that I might manage how I'm furious is different from how I manage how I'm feeling embarrassed. So just take a moment to pause. This takes time to be able to be in the present. Take a moment to pause and reflect on that emotional state. If you need to, journal it. I used to use what was called it was a CBT journal, cognitive behavioral therapy journal, and it requires you to check in. At some point, you want to be able to check in when you're able to, when the feeling shifts and you're like, okay, I need to address this in the moment, but sometimes you can't. So you have these apps that'll chime and let you know, hey, how are we feeling? How are we feeling right now? Hey, what were you doing when you were feeling that way, right? And so you want to just take a moment to pause, reflect on your emotional state, journal if you need to, speak them out loud to yourself if you don't have the ability to journal. And then once the feeling is clearly identified, what happens is it starts to lose some of its power over you. Remember, you're human. I don't care what position you are professionally. This is to my LinkedIn crew, my LinkedIn audience out there, right? Once it starts to lose its power over you, you can decide on the most appropriate response because you're no longer kind of approaching this from an emotional state, okay? The other thing too is practicing mindful breathing and grounding techniques. I know for a lot of you, it kind of sounds a lot like a little on the spiritual woo-woo side, but breathing is not spiritual. Breathing is life, literally. You have to breathe in order to live. And so stress, negativity often trigger fight or flight responses in the body. And there's actually a third F. I think it's freeze. I'm learning this from my therapist, actually. I think it's fight, flight, or freeze. And when you have these slow, controlled breathing, when you start doing that, it helps to calm the nervous system and bring a sense of clarity so that you can respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. That's not spiritualism, y'all. That's biology. Breathing deeply. Any runners out there? Y'all know that, especially after, if you're not doing it during the run, especially after, you have to take those deep breaths. It slows everything down for you. You're able to think. You just finished the race. So anyway, what you can do is just trying simple breath work. There's some apps, there's some wearables that allow you to do it. Um, to do these breath work exercises. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts or 3 counts, exhale for 6 counts and things like that. So you can also do quick grounding exercises as well. If you're, really not trying to do the breathing situation, which, I mean, you're breathing anyway, so why not do it? Maybe you just kind of notice 5 things that you see, 4 that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 that you can smell, 1 you can taste. Right? What it does is it starts to shift your focus away from the negative energy to being in the present moment. Right? It's a good one. I'll say it again. For those of you that are like, you know what, breathing is great, but I need something else. So try grounding. Try a grounding method where you notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 you can smell, and then 1 you can taste. Okay? To help to shift that focus from the negative energy to being focused in the present moment. Okay. So first of all, you got to acknowledge it. Second, mindful breathing or grounding techniques is going to be helpful. But then from there, you really got to start thinking. Remember, as an emotional scientist, you got to cultivate some solution oriented, or rather just be solution oriented. You got to cultivate a solution oriented mindset. So when you have these unpleasant feelings, they often stem from focusing on problems without seeking solutions. Because usually, if you have a challenge and you already know how to solve it, it's not going to make you feel. Let's look at some of these words here. Concerned or nervous or worried or scared or frightened or anxious or disconnected or excluded or spent or discouraged or disengaged or apathetic or helpless. It's not going to make you feel those things because you already know what to do. And even if you do feel those things, it's very short-lived because you know what you're going to do in order to solve that. So what you want to do is you want to start reframing challenges as opportunities so that you can learn and grow and significantly reduce the negative energy. So what you can do is whenever you feel stuck or frustrated, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or what's the smallest step forward to a solution? I guess if I could say forward to a solution, I guess say toward a solution. Encourage. Remember, this is from a leadership perspective, but leaders, you're humans. So encourage your team to do the same thing, fostering this culture of proactivity and resilience. Like, let's not focus on the problem. Let's think about the solutions. Focus on possibilities rather than dwelling on the problems. All right. So you want to have a solution oriented or solution focused mindset. Then you want to set clear boundaries and also delegate, because as leaders, remember, you're human. You can feel overwhelmed, especially when you take on more than you can handle. High achievers crossing over into the overachievement territory sometimes. And so what happens is when you start doing that, feeling overwhelmed because you're taking more than you can handle, blurring the lines between personal and professional responsibilities, it creates chaos, at least mentally. So clear boundaries can help to prevent burnout. It creates chaos, it creates burnout, it creates that feeling of anxiety. So prevent that by creating those or setting those boundaries so that it doesn't become a breeding ground for negative solutions. So what you do is you identify tasks or responsibilities that can be delegated to trusted team members. It's one of the easiest way to do it. Communicate your limits. So maybe you don't. I mean, some of us, it's still hard to do, but maybe you don't answer emails past a certain time. Maybe you only do it this time in the morning and this time in the afternoon and this time in the evening. Did I say evening? But yeah, 5 o'clock is evening, y'all. Most of us got 9 to 5. So that's evening. The point though is when you set these realistic boundaries and clearly defined roles, it reduces the stress and also can preserve your energy for strategic thinking. Right. Oh, So some other things that you should probably consider is seeking support and building a positive environment. So, because oftentimes being in a leadership role, it can feel isolating when you shoulder all the burdens alone. Even if you have people who are direct reports who are, encouraging you and speaking, because sometimes that happens. Like sometimes there are people who are maybe not even on the same level can perceive that certain things are going on, and they may speak a good word to you or encouragement, but as helpful as it might be, they're not in your shoes, right? And so you can still feel isolated and alone, even though that's helpful. Um, but don't neglect the fact that you would need that. Maybe not at that level, right? Because in a sense they're almost kind of managing up, right? But maybe having peers, right? Having other leaders, having mentors, maybe even a professional coach, right? Therapist, right? To provide fresh perspectives that can help you deal with negative thoughts more effectively. So just having a supportive network. These things work. Some of you are already doing this, which is great. But let me tell you, sometimes when you have certain routines and like, you have different goals in mind, sometimes you start to forget what you did previously. I'm experiencing this now with my nutrition journey. Um, Interestingly enough, I have to hit, like I mentioned before, certain macros, right? Proteins, fats, carbs. I have to hit certain macros every day, and the numbers now are more important than it was in the beginning. But before, coach was like, "Listen, I just want to see how you eat. Take the photos, and I'll let you know if it's a nice size portion." Now, a few months later, we're like, "Yeah, let's get specific now. You need 210 grams of this, and 140 grams of this, and 50 grams of that." It's very specific. And so even though I have the same ingredients, I have to change the portions, which kind of makes the meal different and off. So it's like I have to kind of mix other things together. In other words, I'm finding my own system even right now, just like you might need to find a supportive network when you become a particular kind of leader. It shifts, the weight shifts, the risks shift, things shift. And so your system has to adapt to it. So the system that I had when I was eating when I first started is different. Same ingredients, but I've added some, I've removed some, I've combined them a little bit differently until I find something that works. And I'm just hoping that I don't find what works to the very end and like I got it, and then it's like time for us to move to the you know to the bulking phase or the maintenance phase, which would be crazy. But now I think I'm in week 3 right now, and I'm getting a little better. Giving myself grace. It's only been 3 weeks. And now I think we went from like 50% meal consistency to I might have shared this with you guys. Let me see here. Meal adherence. They're at 76.6 now. Not bad, right? Still room to grow. All right. So regularly schedule some check-ins if you need to, one-on-ones with some colleagues, mentors, leadership groups. Depending on the size of your company, you may not have necessarily a leadership group, but you might have a group of people on Slack who are all leaders. Message them. Foster a team culture, especially if you're in this side of leadership, fostering the team culture where constructive feedback is encouraged, where failures are viewed as learning experiences and not shaming sessions, or opportunities for shaming sessions. So when you create this environment of mutual support, creating this environment of mutual understanding, it diffuses negative energy and it promotes overall well-being. So really what I'm trying to tell you as leaders, it starts with you, but knowing that you are human. You are human, all right? So where can you put all of this negative energy? Now you know how to identify it. You know how to kind of lower it or reduce it. But what if you just got it balled and you just need to get it out somewhere? Where do you put it? Well, the first thing that you could do is exercise, move, physical release. All right. Unpleasant feelings often bring tension into the body. I didn't know this until I went on one vacation and did the spa situation. It was hydrotherapy and massage. And I was like, oh my goodness. You mean to tell me that all of that was in my body, the tension? Yeah. The body builds that up. It holds it. So releasing that tension through purposeful movement, physical activity, hydrotherapy, whatever it is. It has both a cathartic feeling and also an energizing feeling as well. So go for a walk. Remember, I got to hit the 10K steps every day, y'all. I'm getting better at it. Actually, the more I stream, the more I do it, because there's like a level of invisible accountability, even though nobody is on here telling me, yo, did you? But it's one of those things where we just, once we say it, it's like we do it. Going to the gym, right? Doing some yoga. I definitely need to stretch more. 2 years ago, I had a goal of doing yoga, and I just never got to it. Engaging in any aerobic activity that just kind of gets the blood pumping, you know. Taking micro breaks, so even a few minutes stretching or stepping away from your desk can also help your mental state and just release some built up stress. I remember um, uh, this was like a year or two ago, realized that I was always like sitting down, and I just didn't get as much sunlight. So I actually got away, got up from my desk, walked outside, and just took the air in, you know, took the sun in, and even saw some of my other coworkers doing the same thing. Like, oh, hey, we doing the same thing. You just got to get away. You got to get away, and you got to take those breaks, and you got to stretch those legs. All right. So physical release is always, I think, going to be paramount. It's always going to be the top one, right? It's probably the easiest way to get the tension out. Now, sometimes for some of us, we will go to the gym angry and we'll leave even angrier. It's like, oh man, you know, the gym didn't work. Well, maybe you need to write it out. Maybe you need to write your thoughts out, right? Kind of putting thoughts and emotions on paper or some sort of digital platform, or something, just to reduce. Remember, once again, it's kind of reducing the power, the negative energy, reducing the power over you. So a container exercise adds this is another example or another approach where you add a symbolic element of placing or depositing negative energy in a safe space. And so what you do is you spend a few minutes and you do some free writing with everything that you feel. You don't worry about the grammar, the clarity. You just get it all out. And when you consider the visual container, you imagine placing your frustration or your anger or your anxiety in a physical or a mental container, like a box, jar, vault, and then you acknowledge this is where it is, and you consciously set it aside and deal with it later, or you can release it entirely. So it's like you can kind of you can do both of them, honestly. You can do a journal where it's just like you're just getting almost like a stream of consciousness, just kind of getting your thoughts out, or you can take the journaling and connect it to the container idea where you can physically write out what you feel. You can imagine it too, but you can write out what you feel, journal, right? What you feel, but this needs to be on a physical piece of paper and put it in an actual jar and then also place it aside. Okay. So you can have the journal, pure, just writing it out. You can do the container, which is like kind of in the head, thinking about how you feel, imagining the jar, putting it in the jar, or you can bring them together. Okay. I think sometimes the more tangible that you get to addressing your feelings, the easier it is to manage. Hence, like the physical release, right? So tangibly writing things out, putting it in a physical jar, and then putting it to the side or burning it or whatever the case is, or shredding it up and throwing it away, could probably help you to release that power that negative energy has over you. Negative energy is not tangible until it is. Like as soon as it starts to store up into your body, then it starts to become a physical situation. And you have to release that. Here's another one, creative outlets. We talked about that yesterday, right? How to tap back into your creative roots. I'm going to do this again later on Twitch, so y'all hang out for that. But we talked about this yesterday, creativity providing a purposeful channel for emotions. So whether you consider yourself a creative or not, It's just about expressing feelings in a way that resonates with you. So if it's like artistic expression, you can sketch, you can paint, doodle, and just you're just taking like a Jack Pollock. You're just taking your emotions to pen, paint, or paper, and then just give it form, right? For music or maybe for poetry, play an instrument, sing, write a short poem, and it could be just anything that helps to translate the heaviness into an art form. And many of you might resonate with brainstorming innovations, where you just kind of channel your frustration into creating something new, like where you can just kind of ask yourself, like, how can this tension inspire a new idea or a better process for my team? Right? Because remember, we're still talking about leaders here. So, creative outlet is definitely a big one. Physical exertion, physical release is definitely a big one. Talking it out, not talking it out, not talking it out. Okay, so talking it out is not the same as just venting. Remember, we talked about the four styles of dialogue. I mean, four types of conversation. You got the discourse, dialogue, diatribe, and debate. This one kind of falls under the diatribe kind of quadrant, but it's productive venting, not just venting just for venting's sake. So sometimes you just need to be heard, right? So you need a sounding board or a soundboard, someone who's willing to and has the bandwidth to do this, right? So oftentimes, all the time, I think you should always ask, hey, do you have space, for what I want to share? Right. Productive venting, if it's done in a trusted environment, can help you to process what you're actually feeling and allows you to consider alternative perspectives. So the soundboard could be somebody who then maybe at the end, if you want it, can give you a fresh perspective on what's going on or how you're feeling. So what you would do is you would confide in a mentor, you confide in a peer, you share your challenges with that person who understands the leadership pressures. I think this is very key. They have to understand the leadership pressures in order for it to not just feel like, oh, you just don't get it. But it has to be someone who also isn't directly entangled in your current issue. That's where a lot of people they'll vent, but they'll vent to the teammate who's in the same thing with them. So guess what's going to happen? I know, right? Like, man, why don't we? And it's just, nothing has changed. If anything, it's just adding fuel, right? Flame of frustration or worry or whatever it is. So you can do that route, right? Combining a mentor or a peer. Remember we talked about the 5 people that you need in your life to be happy: the cheerleader, the mentor, the coach, the friend, and the peer. Yeah. So here's the other thing I would say, and my suggestion would be to add on professional support. So think about like leadership coaches, therapists, anybody that can offer structured ways to channel negative energy into strategic solutions. So that's super key. All right. Now, here's one that people don't really think about. This is the last one that I'm going to share before we kind of go into, the creative piece here. A lot of people don't consider service or kindness. Y'all, when you shift your focus from like your own personal frustration and you just kind of focus on acts of support or kindness for others, what you're doing is you're literally transforming that negative energy into positive impact. Like it's a beautiful thing. It just kind of reminds you of your capacity to create good, and it fosters a sense of purpose even when you're feeling down, even when you're feeling like, man, you know what? I'm really going through it. Right. So what can you do? You can volunteer, or you can mentor somebody else. So you share your expertise with a younger professional, or volunteer in your community, right? Investing energy in helping someone else. And when you do that, it can just offer a profound sense of balance and perspective and also fulfillment, honestly. Team appreciation is another way to do this. When you feel negativity building, you counterbalance it by just recognizing your team members' accomplishments, right? Or maybe just even offering things. So remember I told you that in our team, what we do is every week we have a retrospective and we talk about wins and blockers, but we also have rounds of gratitude. And so this positive action not only diffuses your own tension, but it can also boost morale around you. All right. So that's what I got. That's all I got, y'all. This is where you can put it, right? You can contain it, like mentally think about it or physically write it down, contain it, then review it, right? So that you can either temporarily park that negative energy or those feelings in a designated space, right? It can be a journal, it can be a vent session with a coach or a mentor. Um, and then with intention, you need to then review it if you're putting it to the side. Review it when you're in a calmer state. You can transform it into learning. So you can document the situation that caused the negative energy, the negative feelings, identify the triggers. You know, I told you, start looking at this thing as a professional, as an emotional scientist, right? Versus an emotional judge. The scientists don't look at it subjectively like, oh man, this is bad. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Versus the scientist is like, I'm feeling unpleasant. I wonder why. Let's analyze this. Let's assess it. And based on how I'm feeling, I can come up with some ways to solve it. I told y'all the How We Feel app does that. It helps you. It helps you to do that. All right. Um, the other thing is converting it into or converting it to momentum, like physical, like just getting physical, y'all. So anger, frustration can become fuel if you use it properly to drive positive change. So you can actually do it in a physical way, going to the gym, working out, or you can do it in a way that like for instance you can ask, what about this, like this feeling that I have, how can this motivate me or my team to do better? Like, man, I never want to feel this way ever again. Well, using this energy that I have, how can I help avoid certain pitfalls in the future or to keep us more sustainable so that this kind of situation doesn't happen ever again? And of course, saying ever again is quite naive, especially in business, but y'all get the point. All right. What you're doing is you're kind of reframing this thing so that the destructive energy, because that's what it is, if you're not using it properly, anger and fury can turn into destructive energy. And what you're doing is you're channeling it to constructive outcomes, right? And that's the key there. Okay. All right, y'all. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to continue the the creative outlet that I was doing yesterday. All right. So for those of y'all that have been following that journey, we're gonna get back onto that. And so for anybody else, LinkedIn fam, love y'all. I'm gonna sign off with y'all, and we're gonna just continue here. All right. So remember, guys, what we did was we left off at. Let me see if I can just pull it up here right quick. Give me 1 second, y'all. Just let me transition for 2 seconds here. 1 second. I think I gotta. Okay, shout out. I think I got a new follower. Hold up. Exciting times. Okay, cool. Shout out to. Looks like I Show Speed Online. Out to them. This is dope. Glad that you guys are chiming in. Cool. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and let's talk about where I left off. All right, give me 1 second here. Pull it up. It should, if I do it right, hold on. If I do it right, boom, window, boom. All right. Okay. So remember yesterday, I was like talking about the creative outlet, and it's like, okay, let's do this in real time. So for mine, it's spoken word or poetry, but more so spoken word. Because for me, it's just not how things are, what's written, but it's how it's delivered. So for me, it's spoken word poetry, I suppose. And what I'm choosing to do, especially this year, is I'm just leaning into the gifts that I already have, right? The actual tonality and just what do you call it, vocality? I don't know, of my voice itself, and then also my ability to read certain things, but in a particular way with like a cadence, pauses, things that kind of make it a little bit more impactful, right? I'll break that down actually because I know that there's a technicality to this whole thing. I used to a little bit. I used to rap back in the day just a little bit. All right, and then that just transformed to spoken word. If anything, it's probably because I couldn't remember my lines. So here's what we started off with. I'm going to read it through. I haven't seen this since the last time we did it. And what I told you guys is that I'm going to just kind of be using the stream, honestly, to just kind of be working through this thing live. All right. So the goal here is to take the moment that I was walking out on the street and I was looking at hearing. It was a cipher. It was a gentrified cipher, like I mentioned to y'all, because it's like, man, really no black people were really there kind of doing the thing. Not that it's just a black thing, but y'all, the culture, right? It is and was created for and by, the black community. That doesn't mean that other people can't chime in and can't do it, right? We got people like Eminem and others who had to go through the crucible, might I add. And this is why I'm saying this, because he went through it when they were doing like rap battles and stuff. Oh my goodness, he earned the stripes though. All right, so maybe gentrified isn't. I'm just maybe kind of poking fun, but it was just like nobody's really there that's kind of doing it. But who am I to talk, because I'm not even there doing it. Right, I'm there on the outside judging versus actually showing up and doing something about it. So that particular moment actually had me kind of it sparked something in me. When they asked for any other MCs, I was like, oh man, I should probably do it, but I'm not going to do it because I'm not even prepared for that moment. Why would I even be prepared for that moment? This thing has been dormant for so long, right? So anyway, it reignited the passion to do that. Now, I don't know where that falls in everything that I also have, that I'm looking to do in the future, right? Career-wise and the ambitions that I have. But a lot of things may not necessarily make sense. And I think sometimes you just got to go, as cliche as it may sound, you just got to go where the heart goes or where the heart leads. And so, at least right now, and it may not even be for long, who knows? This is where the heart is leading. Okay, so we got, who would have thought that night? You know what? I'm going to do this so that I remember, because we talked about this yesterday. Who would have thought that night would do this? It was almost as if I was ambushed to start it up again. All I wanted to do was get my steps in, but I was in store for more than just a 10K completion. On the corner of 24th was a group of misfits exchanging energy. Walking past, I didn't expect any of it to rub off on me, even though I was intrigued. I'm going to change that line right there. I smelled the scent of camaraderie and excitement as each one filled their lungs and puffed out words that were heard less than a block away. Looking at the crowd, I wasn't impressed to partake, but I'd be lying if I wasn't curious. But I refused to join. I think I said I was going to change this one too. So I kept walking, and it was almost in the clear until I hear, who's the next MC that wants to go next? I felt that in my chest. My heart dropped. My heart stopped and dropped to my stomach. My esophagus blocked. I wanted to vomit, but couldn't. I turned around and walked back. But see, this is good. So we got stopped, dropped, blocked, and walked. And I don't even realize, sometimes I do this unconsciously or subconsciously, where I will drop something in there that's like that. Dropped. And later on, I'll come back and I might pick up on it, but I might necessarily pick up on it when I'm doing it. Do I need to highlight them? Not necessarily. And this is where sometimes people they would actually take it, right? And they would do this so that to emphasize. So, So dropped, blocked, walked. But then there's also stomach, and there's also vomit. So I turned around and walked back, but felt I shouldn't. If I grabbed the mic that night, I wouldn't have stage fright, but the sage in me knew this wasn't an immediate call. It was a voicemail left for me to address this challenge when I returned home. Will I call back? I wasn't sure if I would, but this piece is me dialing. I wasn't sure if I would, but this piece is me dialing the number, and every character placed onto this sheet is a declaration of my desire to re-explore the long-lost love of words. Okay, so I would probably put "and" here. Okay. And so like I mentioned, I'm not going to go back right now. I'm going to continue kind of going through it, but I just want y'all to know that what's happening right now is at some point I will go back and like, ah, man, I got to fix this. I got to fix this. But I think for this particular one, I think I'm just going to kind of push through and let's just see where we land with this. So it's a new night, have a fresh perspective, and so maybe we can get some good ideas, some fresh ideas from here. Okay. All right, so we're talking about voicemail. Every character that's placed into the sheet is a declaration of my desire. So I go from this theme of a street corner, almost like the drugs pulling you back. And the drug obviously being like the passion of writing or spitting, but then it transfers into a phone call. Maybe this can be a segue. That's my felt like this was when when was the last time I felt like this? When we were all forced to stay home and stay safe. All right. Friend of mine, after encouraging, how do I add that? After encouraging them, told me I had a way with words. I feel like I used the word longest before somewhere. Long lost, that's why. But I really didn't stop tapping into it because one of the last roles that I had was as a content strategist, like for work, and copywriting was a part of it. So it wasn't that I wasn't using words, but using it in a creative sense. And you can be creative as a copywriter, but okay. Let's see how we can do this. I knew this for the longest, but stopped tapping into it. Something like my way was asleep. Something like, I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking of sleeping sheets. Okay. It sounds good, but I also don't want it to just sound like a word salad, right? I knew this for the longest, but stopped tapping into it. My way was asleep, but the words were still tossing and turning in the sheets, waiting for my way to weigh in again. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. So y'all just gonna have to deal with it. Y'all can see what I'm doing right now, right, with the motif. I don't know. This doesn't make sense right now, but it'll make sense a little bit later. Um, my way was asleep, but the words were still tossing and turning in the sheets, waiting for my way to weigh in again, waiting for me to pick up the pen again, hoping to be put together and win again. Put together is the words. Words that turned into. What was the syntax and and now at this point, sometimes I'll probably also look at like, so for instance, like right now I'm thinking about grammar, right? In grammar terms. And so let's see. Let's see. Grammar. I'm going to put like words related to grammar in English, because I think they'll literally just give me words related to grammar. Okay, let's see. And I don't think it's gonna. Okay, determinate infinitive. Oh, infinitive actually might work. Auxiliary verbs, participles. Yeah, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to sound too simplistic, right? Oh, this is a lot. I forgot about gerunds. Y'all remember gerunds? Gerunds. Genitive. Consonants. Yes. Yeah. What this piece doesn't have right now is it doesn't have like punchlines or, it's like when I think of, so for instance, I have been mildly obsessed with the Uproar song by Lil Wayne. By Swiss Beats featuring Lil Wayne. And geez, I think I might have even told you guys this. So this is why I tell I'm highly obsessed with it, because there's certain phrases that he'll use in the song that just makes so much sense. The way that he sets it up. So Let me see if I can find a version for you where there's certain things that he says. Oh man, when he says, "You a roughneck, I'm a cutthroat." That is pure genius. That is pure genius. Um, some of these I'm not gonna we're not gonna get explicit. One day I'm gonna do a lyrical reading, and it shall be explicit. This ain't gonna be the time for that though. Um, I come out the scuffle without a scuff, bro. Yeah, that was a good one too. Yellow diamonds up close, catch a sunstroke. So when he says I sleep with the gun and she don't snore, or something like that. That was a good one too. But this entire first of all, the flow and this entire thing, it ends with the O sound for the most part. Even if it's uproar, right? It's empty when I give back. No, where's the uproar? But it's like, uproar, kind of a thing. Because he rhymes unborn, drug lord, uproar together. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm kind of looking for. What I would love to see happen in this particular piece. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to overthink. I'm just going to let it flow. One of the things that I realized that I did when I was younger, the younger me, I didn't overthink this. And I think I was a little sharper too back then. So some of it connected while I was doing it. But I didn't really care about it. That's number one. Number two, I'm probably still slightly a little self-conscious about doing this live, even though ain't nobody probably listening and watching to this right now. But just the fact that I'm talking out loud as if somebody is, I think makes a difference. So I think that's what's kind of hitting right now. So younger me would have just either left it or put something in there as a pin. I gotta just went online and just kind of looked for something that that works, and then just let it go and go to the next thing. Okay. Um, um, Pauses and phrases. Maybe it doesn't need to have a four. Maybe it doesn't need to be even. In again, pin again, win again. And phrases. Maybe we just do it that way and just keep it moving. Because I did mention that it doesn't always have to feel like it's stuck in just typical, two bars at a or one bar at a time, two lines at a time. And yeah, no, that has to rhyme. Words turn into clauses, syntax, pauses, and phrases. Um, okay, spell activated right. Colon. I mean, this was kind of true. It was a little dramatic though. What I am trying to get at, what I'm trying to explain, is this notion of staying home, and the pandemic made all of us kind of unlock a lot of creativity. But you stopped caring in a sense. Yeah, when I did this, I was live streaming. I had a pick in my hair. I had like the I had more hair actually, so I had an Afro pick, the one that had the fist on it, and I was just going in it, like a Love Quest, Quest Love. I'm so dyslexic. All right. Uh I don't even think I scratched 100 words yet. Okay. I don't know. There's something we can do with the internet and inner selves piece. Stop caring about the persona. I'm not really sure. I already said that before. Okay. I'm not too keen on this right now. The last time I felt like this was when we were all forced to stay home and stay safe. A friend of mine, after encouraging them, told me I had a way with words. I knew this for the longest, but stopped tapping into it. My way was asleep, but the words were still tossing and turning in the sheets, waiting for my way to weigh in again, waiting for me to pick up the pen again, hoping to be put together and win again. Words that turn into clauses, syntax pauses, and phrases. And here was the ingredient that activated my creative, the feeling that if I didn't release it, I wouldn't live with myself. Perhaps that's a bit dramatic. The truth is, we all stayed home long enough for our inner selves to meet our internet personas. I want to change that to like do something with the inter selves or something like that. And for the first time, for many, we stopped caring about saving face and focused on sharing feelings. I don't know. All right. Maybe, maybe. I think what I need to do is I think maybe I do this tomorrow, y'all. Maybe what I do is I just sit down and I just stream for like 4 hours. It's crazy. Back in the day, I used to knock these things out. But see, that's a problem. I'm always thinking about back in the day. Things were different back then, right? Responsibilities were different back then. Uh, the what is it called? The elasticity of my brain was different back then. Like I'm gonna be 40 this year. When I was doing this, which I don't say I was killing it, but I was okay. I didn't do too bad for myself. I was in my 20s. You're talking about like 20 years later. So I think that first of all, giving myself grace, but the other thing is just making sure that that because I think the Instagram is about to cut off soon. So, but yeah, all of that to say, y'all, we might pick this up later. Let me see how IG is doing. IG, how you doing? Yeah, we might get cut off soon on IG, which is all good. Yep, there it is. Bye, IG. Okay. So I'm not even gonna renew or put in a new stream for IG. We'll just let that be. Okay. So yeah, I mean this is where we at right now, right? We're just gonna keep it here. Y'all, I think that I just got to keep chipping away at it. What's gonna be cool is that I don't feel, and this is the other thing too, I don't feel a deadline to get it finished, and maybe that's what I need to put. Because I remember a long time ago, there's like this, y'all, this was like this talent show, and I think it was at like 7 o'clock, way back in the day, like college days. And I didn't start writing until like 4 o'clock. And it was a whole alphabetical piece, like a whole section of words with A's, a whole section of like poetry with A's, all B's and all C's, like using just A words, using just B words and just C words. Cause I don't think I could have, first of all, I ran out of time. And then second of all, it's like, I'm not gonna do this for an entire, there's only so much time I got, right? And I ended it, I think, with like an A through Z alphabet thing, like so A stood for something, B stood for something, and just kind of went through the whole thing. Anyway, I think I got third place. And I memorized it. I almost forgot it, but I memorized it. I think I memorized it. I got third place, which is crazy. But we couldn't stand a chance because I think there was this almost like a boy band. They were hitting all of the fire songs that year, so there was no way. As soon as they hit the there was one song. What did they play? I think they played "I Used to Rule the World." And as soon as the song came on, the whole audience, like the whole was it an auditorium? I can't even remember, but the whole auditorium was good. It went crazy. Like, oh my God. So all of us in the back was like, oh, there goes our chance. There's that. Oh man, we hope a second and maybe third. But yeah, I came in third. So I was in that moment, I was like, man, Chris, imagine if you actually honed, is it honed or homed? Always mix it up. Honed in on that craft. I think it's homed or homed in. And just really dialed in, you probably would have killed it in a way that, could have. But once again, I think that many of us, and this is why a long time ago, I also talking about these long time ago things, created this anti-hero framework, because I think a lot of us have experienced these moments where we tasted. I'm not even just talking about that. That's like college, right? But other moments past that, where you've tasted a level of success. You've tasted these moments of just like, yes, people are vibing with just who I am or how I lead or what I'm doing, and then you stop, or a circumstance happens, whatever it is, and then you just go on a different path, or you just just living life, but you haven't really hit that mark, hit that echelon where you felt like you were just killing it or about to kill it, or about to win. Let me not be so violent with my words. I always say like kill it, crush it. But the anti-hero is the person who's tasted those things, and they just kind of go through life with that what if, or like, man, I remember back in the day. It's like, nah, we're not back in the day anymore. We're in 2025. What are you doing now? What are you doing today? Right. So when I think about kind of doing this thing live, right? Show Your Work by Austin Kleon, wearing your amateurism on your sleeve. Like, this is me starting all over again, honestly, and doing it where right now ain't nobody really watching, even though it does say one person watching, but that's Twitch. Twitch always says one person is watching, but I don't know. I can't even tell how do I even know, like, determine who that one can I? Is it possible? I think it might just be like a bot situation so that uh Twitch has so that they just make sure you ain't doing nothing crazy. That or they're just giving you encouragement. I don't know. I'm trying to find it now, but I can't find it. I don't see it. Don't see it. Don't see it. Oh. All right. Well, the good news is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got five? Got 5 followers now on Twitch. Hey, and one is not, it's not like the iShowSpeed, right? But it still says iShowSpeed _online. So shout out to you for popping on. Appreciate you. And hope you enjoy the content as we continue this journey. Listen, y'all, it's gonna be a mixture. It's gonna be a mash of creative and business, life and business. You're gonna see me talk about business stuff. You're gonna see me talk about creative stuff, and hopefully demonstrate creative stuff. All right, so that is the goal. All right, y'all. I'm gonna hop off, but I would say y'all know where to find me. Y'all do know where to find me. I guess I just got to be on when I'm on, then, so that you can find me when y'all find me. But all right, y'all. See you later.